but I wasn't here. So I apologize for today's slovenly lateness, but Israeli buses don't quite run like Swiss trains.
How's the vibe?
No, it's just bizarre that this is the beginning of his route and he shows up 7 minutes late, right? That just means he showed up 7 minutes late, doesn't mean. Then once you show up 7 minutes late, then you get stuck in traffic.
Right. It's that 7 minutes that makes all the difference.
Yeah, 100%.
It makes a major difference when I get on the bus at 5 to 7 versus 7.
Yep, 100%. So by me, it's 7 as opposed to 7, 8, 7, 10.
Right.
It took me. We got on. It took 25 minutes on the bus instead of 15.
Wow.
Exactly.
Because of traffic.
Yeah.
The traffic starts at 7:20.
Right, because that's when everybody is rushing to get to davening at 7:30, and people are rushing to get to classes and work and whatnot.
Yeah, some people even work. There's those people too.
So I'm sure knowing Israeli bus drivers, they probably announced that he probably announced that he's sorry about it.
Yeah, well, he's an Arab bus company.
Oh.
So, let's say sorry for anything. Okay.
They say sorry in Arabic. Do they have a word?
Yesterday we saw the amazing idea. Of Nada the Shnas Melech being a result of our Mesiras Nefesh. Why? What's Mesiras Nefesh? Mesiras Nefesh is bringing, the interesting enough, the Rebbe explained it in terms of the movement from below above. We usually explain Mesiras Nefesh in terms of the movement of above below. That Etzem and Neshama is Nimshach Lamata, that the essence of the soul is drawn down below. Since we've been talking about the elevation of the soul in the context of sleep, so in that context, the Rebbe discussed the Inyan of Mesiras Nefesh, that the Keiches HaGluyim of the Nefesh, the revealed powers of the soul, are connected to their source in Etzem. So that's Mesiras Nefesh. So Mesiras Nefesh, let's do it in terms of coming down, because that's going to help us in terms of the idea of Nada Shnas Melech. The essential connection to the Eibishter comes down into this world and is revealed in this world and expressed in this world. Okay, so that's Mesiras Nefesh. What did that cause above? Nada Shnas Melech. That the most powerful levels of Elokus, which are usually above, came down below, meaning we had the advantages of sleep without the disadvantages of sleep. The advantage of sleep is that the neshama is most powerfully connected to its source. The advantage of Golus is that the level of godly light that is ultimately responsible for powering the world is more powerfully connected to its source in Elokus above. That's the problem down here. The disadvantage is down here there's a bilbul, down here there's confusion, down here there's chaos, because the light is not being revealed properly. So too in a dream state, life is not orderly in a dream state. That's the disadvantage. So if I could have the advantages of both, the power of the connection above with the order and proper expression below, so then I have the best of both worlds, so to speak. Mesiras Nefesh is that in Avodah, taking Etzem and Neshama, which obviously the most powerful expression of the neshama, but the problem is it's not revealed below, revealing that below in our behavior. That produces a reality of Nada Shnas Melech, that the king's sleep moved, that advantage of sleep, that all the Keiches Giluyim that usually power the world are rooted in their source above, they're drawn down below and revealed below, and that's Purim. It's really amazing. We finished the first paragraph in Vav, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Zachariah, you're always my GPS. I know where I am. God protects simpletons. V'yuvan zeh b'pratius Yesu. We can explain this more particularly in more detail. Al pia yadua, based on that which is known. Shashleimus the Mesiras Nefesh, the ultimate expression of Mesiras Nefesh. Who? This is Purim. Mesiras Nefesh, when this Mesiras Nefesh should be tzad yechida, which is obviously a function of yechida b'nefesh, which is usually makif, right? Even though it's different than chaya, right? Because we say the advantage of yechida is it's the essence of every aspect of the soul. That being said, it's still usually a makif. It's still something that is usually super conscious as opposed to conscious me. Nimshechus pe'elus, that's drawn down in acts, effects, gam b'keiches apratim, also in a person's detailed powers, meaning down here in conscious reality. You look at footnote 54. Re'ei Kuntres Avoda Perek Hey. Kuntres Avoda is one of the four contrasting that the Rebbe Shab wrote to Mimim. Rebbe Shab wasn't well often, and so would leave Lubavitch and go to the mountains, go to the spas, go to the places where people used to go to get better. Carlsberg was one of them. So it's now in what's called the Czech Republic. So I don't know when it was there. I don't know what it was called then, but now it's called the Czech Republic. So you can go there. Like people, there's still a spa there, and it's supposed to be absolutely gorgeous. And there are facilities for people who want to eat kosher food, etc. So I know the Sem in Prague goes once every year. They go for a Shabbos. They say it's just unbelievable. So it's very healing. So the Rebbe Shab, so while the Rebbe Shab was away, he wrote Kuntrasim he sent instructions back home. So there's Kuntras Avoda, Kuntras Tefillah, Kuntras Umayim, Kuntras Eitz Chaim. Those are the four Kuntrasim. Kuntras Tefillah and Kuntras Avoda are about Tefillah and Avoda. He's Beinanus. Kuntras Umayim is just going to scare you. It's about Nefesh Bamis and dealing with the Nefesh Bamis. And Kuntras Eitz Chaim is the need for learning Pnimius Torah. Eitz Chaim is Pnimius Torah. Eitz Adas Teva is Nigla, and Eitz Chaim is Pnimius. All suggested reading. Right. So in Kuntras Avoda, Perek Hey, Shedavka Bechinas Yechida, that's specifically the quality of Yechida. Im Heyosem Mufshetes Legamre, even though it's completely transcendent of our conscious existence. Mufshat is something that's transcendent and not connected to us. Ve'ein la achiza klal b'keiches hapnimim, and therefore it doesn't have a grasp in the inner powers, conscious powers of the soul. Nevertheless, nimseis hi b'chol keiches pe'elis al gam al chumis the nefesh habamis. But it's still found in all of these powers. Why? Because it's the essence of all. Just a different way of saying what we saw earlier, that it is the essence of all of the keiches, and therefore not only does it affect the nefesh elokis, it also affects the chumis of the nefesh habamis, because it's the essence of our being. Right now, it's not the essence of the nefesh habamis, but it's the essence of the nefesh elokis, which is sharing space, so to speak, with the nefesh habamis. So we've learned that in different ways in different places, right? So it's nimshech pe'elis gam b'keiches hapratim b'kol levavcho v'chol nafshecho. Shagam ha'aved. I mean, the whole idea of Mesiras Nefesh is b'chol me'adecho, right? So the not just b'chol me'adecho is what the Rebbe is saying, but also b'chol levavcho v'chol nafshecho, also very much part of your conscious reality. That's the ultimate in Mesiras Nefesh. Similar to the idea we saw in Vakta Tetzavos, when Mesiras Nefesh is payol ad kedei kach that it becomes part of the person's pnimius. It doesn't simply affect their behavior, but it affects their very being. They change as a result of Mesiras Nefesh. Shagam Aveda Hapratis, also the particular Aveda, the kol keich v'keich of each different power of the soul, tia beiv in the Mesiras Nefesh, will be in a way of Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, without beyond limitation. So now, where did we ever see that happen in the Jewish people? We've seen expressions of Mesiras Nefesh throughout history. But when was it something that the whole Jewish people expressed? Well, we'll see. That's Purim. That's what's so unique about Purim. V'Mesiras Nefesh haisa etzel kol Yisrael minar v'adzakin tafu nashim. Right, the Mesiras Nefesh of Purim was shaykh to every single Jew, child, old person, youth, old person, taf, child, nashim, women. The yesh leimar kavana b'zeh. What does this mean? The Gama Aveda Prati Shel Kol Echad Ve'echad. Also the specific Aveda of each and every one. It wasn't that they were in some general state of upliftedness, but there was a specific expression of Mesiras Nefesh in everything they did. Nar Zakin Tafra Nashim Haisa Chadura Betanu, the Mesiras Nefesh was penetrated with and absorbed into each movement of them was a movement of Mesiras Nefesh. This is another aspect of that which is written in the Maimer. One of the things said about the Mesiras Nefesh of Purim that it lasted all year. When did it start? When was the Gezerah beginning? When was the whole story with Esther?
The other of the previous year.
Pesach of the previous year. Nisan of the previous year. Yud Gimel Nisan. Yud Gimel Nisan is when Esther went to the king. That's when people fasted, etc. Actually, she went around Pesach, right? So they started fasting Yud Gimel. I think they fasted Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet, Tesvav. I think those are the 3 days they fasted. Right? So the Mesiras Nefesh began then and lasted until the following year on Yud Gimel Adar, Yud Gimel and Yud Dalet, right? Yud Gimel they fought in the whole country. Yud Dalet they fought in Shushan. They continued fighting in Shushan. So they only rested on Tesvav, and that's why we celebrate Tesvav. One of the cities that is a suffix as to whether or not it was a walled city at the time of Yeshua ben Nun is Prague. Which means it's been around that long. It's really astounding. I don't know what they do. I don't know whether they keep 2 days there. They keep 2 days in Sfas because it was a suffix whether it was a walled city. So they keep the 14th and the 15th. That means, okay, great, you have 2 sudas. That also means you have to hear Megillah 4 times. Right?
Sounds great.
It's hard work. The second time is already hard. The third and fourth must be very difficult. Also, a Suda the second day. I mean, that must be very difficult after, if you do the Suda right the first day, it must be pretty hard to do it right the second day. Also hard to hear Megillah the night after the Suda the first day, but somehow they all manage. Tveria, I think, I'm not sure whether they keep 1 or 2. If there were Yidden in Yericho, so obviously Yericho was a walled city at the time of Yeshua ben Nun, because Yeshua sort of brought those walls down, right? There just aren't any Jews there, right? But
Yeshua brought the walls down. How is it a walled city?
It was a walled city in the time of Yeshua ben Nun.
It doesn't have
Right.
to stay.
It wasn't a time at Purim, right? That the Chazal explained, Dafka, to give precedence there to Israel as opposed to Chutzlands. Right? So Dafka, it's relative to Yeshua ben Nun and not relative to the time of Purim, which was 800 years later. Right? So throughout the Meshach Hashanah, Yeshnam Kol Shinui Tkufes. Throughout the why is it important to understand that the Mesiras Nefesh was Nimshach b'Meshach Kol Hashanah? Because what's the word Shana mean? What's the root of the word Shana? Shinui, change, right? Shana is the measurement of all the different changes that happen within the course of a year. The B'Meshach Hashanah Yesh Kol Shinui Hatkufes, all the different changes of the time periods. Kamavur B'Kama Drushim, as is explained in a number of Drushim. And the Rebbe is going to explain, right? Be'inyan Mailasa Esrog. What's unique about an Esrog? And an Esrog is Shaykh to Purim. Why? The Esrog hu Bechinas Malchus in Yanashal Esther. Esther was green like an Esrog. Right? Shadar Bilana Mishana Lashana. What's unique about an Esrog? So one of the Pshatim, some learned the Gemara in Elul. One of the unique characteristics of an esrog, when it says Priyetz Hadar, so this the majority opinion, of course, is Priyetz Hadar means it has to be Muhudar, it has to be beautiful. Rabbi Yehuda holds an esrog does not have to be beautiful. That means a dry esrog is a kosher esrog. Why? What does he do with the word Hadar? It says Beferish it should be Hadar. He says no. The word Hadar means Pri Hadar Beilane Mishana Lashana. It lives on its tree. Hadar. The one that lives on its tree from year to year. And an esrog is very, very unusual in that if you leave it on the tree, it keeps growing. It doesn't fall off. Apples, oranges, plums, pears, they all fall off the tree. And esrog will just keep growing. Just keeps growing, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Shadar bilan mishana l'shana. Ubechol tekufa, not only, the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe always loves to quote the Rebbe Marash in this. Here he doesn't, but usually the Rebbe does. Bechol tekufa yeshna avodim miyuchedes. Relative to the esrog, not only does the esrog stay on the tree, it evidently is nourished by all 4 seasons. I didn't say that here. It's not talking about esrog. That it's nourished by all 4 seasons. But relative to time itself, each tkufa has its own specific avodah. Every day. Every day has its own avodah. It's relevant to that day. Kemaimer, as Chazal say, it's the Zohar. Every day he should do his avodah, meaning every single day has its own unique avodah. What exactly is the Abish going to throw our way today? Well, we're not sure, but whatever it is, so that has to be done in an oifen of avodas Hashem. Umasha amdu b'mesiras nefesh kol hashana, that which the Jewish people at the time of Purim stood in a state of mesiras nefesh all year. Right? In other words, it penetrated all aspects of their being. Perhaps one could say another intention in this. Now, of course, there's no footnote when the Rebbe says ulai. Shegam in yonim the shana. Also, those notions of shana, haveda pratis, the whole yom for yom, the specific aveda of every day, hayu ba'ifim the mesiras nefesh, were in such a way of mesiras nefesh, l'maylam imedid of agbola. Meaning, every day aveda was done in an oifen of mesiras nefesh. Not just a mesiras nefesh relative to the situation outside of them, but also relative to their own particular personal aveda. V'zeu ma she'inyan noda dashnas malkei shaleilam, and that's why the inyan of Nada Dashnas Malkei Shalelim, that the king's sleep moved, and the king is the king of the world. Nasa Yedei Shamdu Mesiras Nefesh Kol Hashana Dafka. It was brought about as a result of the fact that they stood in the state of Mesiras Nefesh all year. Dal Yedei HaMesiras Nefesh Shalahem, that through their Mesiras Nefesh, like we saw yesterday, Heyer Begilui Gam Bekechas Apratim Bekol Hashana. Right, there was an illumination of Yechidah Benefesh in the specific powers of the soul b'meshech throughout all the year. Al yedei zeh nasa kein gam l'mayla, so to above sheha'or shelamayla mishtalshlus, the light that's beyond the ishtalshlus. Noda d'shnas hamelech, the king's sleep moved. What does that mean? It was nimshach b'bechinas pnimius. It was drawn down not just to be revealed here, but mamish nimshach into pnimius, into the everyday life of the everyday Jew. Va'ad v'yem elahavi a sefer zichron is divrei yomim, until the king said he wanted to bring the sefer zichronis divrei yomim shenimshach gam b'sefer zichronis divrei yomim. That's drawn down into the sefer zichronis. What does that mean? Time. It's drawn down into shordish zman, which is metaphysical time. Va'ad sheviyim sekasuv gam b'sefer zichronis shushan b'kapshuta gam b'zman agolus. It's drawn down into time. Meaning not only into space, we think when we generally into the space of the world, no, but time was affected by the mesiras nefesh of the Yidden, and how is that related to in the Zohar? The idea of bringing out the Sefer Zichronis. The fact that the book of time was revealed. Right? What did the king ask for? Nada d'shnas melech, I want to know about time. I want to know what's happened. Oh, so what's that in Panemius? Nada d'shnas melech, the king is revealed down here in the completely and totally in the realm of space and time. Right? Galu le'elam shushan, and the idea of the king being brought into Golus with them. Elam, Elam is that which Chazal actually say. Right? It was a place in Bavel. Galu le'elam shushan shchina imayim. Shchina is with them. Okay, so again, a further illustration of what we learned in the first half of Vav. Right, the idea that our mesiras nefesh brought about this incredible revelation above. The revelation was commensurate to our mesiras nefesh. Some unbelievable idea, just like our mesiras nefesh is bringing etzem and the shoma down into a state of revelation in Elam Hazeh. So too, what did that bring about? A revelation of incredibly powerful godly reality down here in Elam Hazeh. Sleep moved. All the advantages of sleep down here. Right? The advantage of sleep is up there. No, it was also down here. The scene of Zikaron is also very interesting relative to this week's parsha. With today's chittis is actually very useful to have a very long bus ride on Rishon and Sheni of Parsha Siso, because the whole parsha is Rishon and Sheni. Right? So today's chittis is extremely long, and it's all the chet ego and the response to. So one of the, of course, later on in the parsha, we learn about the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu saw the kesher of the tefillin of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's an amazing sikha of the Rebbe in this week's parsha where the Rebbe explains why dafka the kesher of the tefillin, and why dafka also that the Eibishter was me'utaf. It says the Eibishter was, he saw the Eibishter me'utaf, meaning he was wearing a talis, and he saw the kesher shel tefillin, which itself is interesting because generally you would think the talis covers up the kesher of the tefillin. So what are those two? So the Rebbe explains something quite astounding. What are those two? So what are tzitzis about? Why do we wear tzitzis? I know God said so, but why he says why he said so?
Remembrances.
Oh, remembering 613 mitzvahs, right? Okay. Tzitzis is gematria 600, eight strings and 5 knots, 613. Okay, so that's tzitzis. What's kesher tefillin? Kesher is this immutable tie, immutable bond that we have with the Eibishter. What's the source of Aveira? The source of Aveira is shikha, to forget reality, forget what reality is really all about, right? To forget the truth. So that might cause a person to act in a way that's improper. What has to be revealed in order to undo that negative reality? Dafka the kesher. The immutable bond, to remember the tzitzis, the immutable bond, the kesher of the tefillin. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was taught the secret of tshuva, was the vision of the Eibishter was dafka a talis and tefillin, but specifically the kesher of the tefillin. That's what he saw of the tefillin. He didn't see anything else. Dafka the kesher. Right? And how he saw the kesher, how he saw the kesher, right? He's through the talis. I don't know what the Eibishter's talis looks like, so I can't right? So he saw the notion of remembrance, and what are you remembering? This immutable bond. Right? The idea of zikaron being an idea of a powerful connection to the Eibishter. Shikha is what causes a disconnect. Zikaron is what causes the reconnect. So bringing with a friend about that, just it's important. What does that mean? Okay, I have this immutable kesher. Okay, that's mine. I mean, it's nice. I get it. It's very nice, very uplifting. But what does that allow us to do? It frees us from the past in a very, very powerful way. In that every single person makes mistakes. Every single person has certain aspects of their life that, whether it happened in the recent past or the distant past, that they might be embarrassed about certain mistakes we made, and those moments show up now and then. And then you remember something, and it's something you did at some point in your life, and it was probably something that if you had the chance you wouldn't do it. If you had the chance again, you wouldn't do it. And it doesn't have to be an avera. It can also just be something that was something that you wish you hadn't done. It was a bad judgment, whatever it happens to be. Okay, say it's all there. So to a certain degree, the Eibishter allows us to remember these things in order to do tshuva for them, because if we remember them, then we go, fair, okay, good, that's good. Uproot them from us. Not interested in them being part of us. But there's all, even if we do remember them, so they might cause a certain lack of simcha for, I don't want to say anything worse than that, but a certain lack of simcha because a person is disappointed in themselves or embarrassed to something. Okay, say that. Okay, we've all experienced those events that might produce that, and that response to those events. Okay, and what's the proper response? The proper response is to remember an unbreakable and immutable kesher with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so how does that help? Well, and then what's my Aveda? My Aveda isn't to focus on what that was and how that might have been something improper. Okay, it was, fine. My Aveda is to be, so then what can I do now to bring about an expression of that kesher? Now, the only thing that's happening is now. Today, what am I going to do today that's going to be positive and productive? There were mistakes in the past, but say there were mistakes in the past. Did they ultimately affect my relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu? But Pnimius, no, still completely connected. On a certain revealed level, they do. We know they do. They affect us, right? We learn in Basi Lagani that it affects us. Okay, so how do I undo that effect? Well, what am I doing now? The fact is that since I'm completely connected, that means I have the opportunity to express that connection now, and that's the Aveda. Not to harp on what was, and so much what the Rebbe taught us in Lysim Sheked. What am I doing now? Today. Today's an opportunity to do an amazing amount of good stuff. Okay, so grab the opportunity and do it. Get right there. What are you worried about? So when you were 15 years old, you said something stupid to someone. Okay, you said, yeah, probably, that's reasonable. And when you were 25 years old, you also said something stupid to someone. Oh, yeah, that's probably. And you were 35 and 45 and 55 and 65. And last week. Okay, fine. Say that, okay, no, that's mine. What's that got to do with today? Why? Because there's this kesher. There's this connection. And that didn't affect the connection. That's what the Eibusher is teaching Moshe Rabbeinu, how to do tshuva. What's tshuva all about? Geh weiter. Do positive things now. Want to wallow in your own self-pity because you're not perfect? Okay. So you'll be wallowing in self-pity until the day you die. Because you're never going to be perfect. So get over it. And just do what has to be done. It's just a completely liberating idea, and that's true. Absolutely liberating. So it liberates us from the mistakes we make. We all make mistakes. It's just the way it is. Right? Some of them are more embarrassing, and some of them are less embarrassing. But even if no one else knows about the mistake, it's still embarrassing to you. Okay, that's not. Okay, back there. You're connected, so express the connection. That mistake. I have to crawl back into the game. No, I'm in the game. I don't have to crawl back into the game. I'm always in the game. So just play the game. Do what has to be done. It's the kesher that Moshe saw. Okay, let's go further. We're almost near the end. Obviously, the Rebbe is going to bring this into us, what our Mesiris Nefesh is about. And this is something that the Rebbe talks about constantly. And this is a level of Mesiris Nefesh that the Rebbe also says is just as difficult as the Mesiris Nefesh that the previous generation had to express in Soviet Union. So our Mesiris Nefesh is just as difficult, even though it's in a completely different way. So too in every gullus. The Bechol Mokim Shagalu Yisrael Shechina Imayim. The Eibusher is always with us. V'galu LaEdom Shechina Imayim. When they went to Edom, the Shechina is with them, and that's understood as our gullus now, gullus Edom. Shal Yadeshi Yisrael Imdim B'Mesiris Nefesh. How do we undo gullus? By standing in a tanu of Mesiris Nefesh. And what's the tanu of Mesiris Nefesh in our generation? There are people right now being Meser Nefesh B'Foil Mamish with their physical lives protecting the rest of the Jewish people. There's no question. And every now and then that level of Mesiris Nefesh has to be expressed. But that's generally not the Mesiris Nefesh that we have to express in our generation. And even if it is, it's only for a very select few people. There are very few Jews who are walking around in true physical danger right now. The ones who are the soldiers in the south and in the north. Right? The rest of us are not in any physical danger right now. Right? Okay. So, what?
Didn't the Rebbe say that it's for today? It's problem is with the wealth and everything we have, and to make sure that we want to have the Mashiach.
Okay, that's true. That's the Kosis Lamar. But the Mesiris Nefesh that the Rebbe talks about, he's going to say the next 4 words. The Mesiris Nefesh that the Rebbe talks about relative to our generation is what the Rebbe says right now. She'ena misbaishim mipnei maligim. And a person isn't embarrassed by the scorners. That's the Mesiris Nefesh of our generation. Not to be embarrassed by the scorners, the maligim, the people who are loeg. Loeg are people who scorn and ridicule, not to be affected by them. Because they're all over, right? And they make a lot of noise. They control the noise-making machines, right? Okay, so a person might find it very daunting and might find that if they have to daven mincha in an airport, they want to go in some corner where no one will see them. Exactly the opposite, right? We've talked about this before. The people who should be embarrassed are the people who aren't praying before they get on a plane. Right? You're going to go on a metal tube 35,000 feet in the air going 500 miles an hour. I would pray. Right? Okay, I'll be derech hateva. I understand it's safer than a car. I get it. That's true. Say that. But we still say tefillas haderech. We say tefillas haderech when we drive in a car, on any serious road. Okay. So, I mean, dafka mincha, it depends what time of day it is. Right? But the idea of being embarrassed of our Yiddishkeit, should be embarrassed of truth. People who are into sheker should be embarrassed. Now, they're not embarrassed. They flaunt it in a way that's really quite astounding. Okay, why? Well, okay, the majority is not going to be embarrassed by their lifestyle because it's the lifestyle of the majority. That doesn't mean it's not an embarrassing lifestyle. It's pretty embarrassing. You certainly don't hate the people. You love the people. You hate their lifestyle, which is one of the challenges of shlichus, is to live amongst the lifestyle, to be very close to and have a very, very deep and powerful relationship with the people who are, for whatever reason, part of that lifestyle. Obviously, you're trying to get them a little bit out of it, but right, they're very powerfully connected to that lifestyle. You love the people, but chas v'shalom, don't become enamored by their lifestyle. Their lifestyle is a disaster. They're wonderful people. They're amazing people. They're incredible people. Their lifestyle's terrible. Why? It's not their fault, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you want any part of the lifestyle. I just heard, it was one of the most depressing things I've ever heard. Just overheard a conversation about people talking that in Australia, this singer who's the girlfriend of some football player, so she's in Australia, and she's evidently la hit, like she's the biggest thing out there. So in Australia, the domestic flights have changed from regular planes to A380s, right? Because they're taking so many Australians from wherever she's playing, right, from one place to another place, so they need the biggest plane. They usually a domestic flight. Like each is in Sydney, right? So a domestic flight from Melbourne to Sydney will be a 737. No, it has to be an A380 because so many people are going from Melbourne to Sydney or wherever it is. I assume it must be in, Sydney's usually where these things happen, I think, because it's the biggest city in Australia. Though Melbourne has a bigger stadium, so maybe it's in Melbourne. I don't know. But no, it can't be in Melbourne, because what I heard was someone actually mentioned that they knew someone going who would define themselves as a Lubavitcher Chassid. That's really depressing.
Yeah.
That's just pashut depressing. Now, it was a female. A male can't go, right? I mean, if your husband's going with her, then the guy should, he better do some serious tshuva because he can't go, right? I mean, it's usher. There's no, her going is just the sea of shtus, the deepest expression of idiocy that one could ever imagine. Okay, say it, but at least, the kolish isn't an issue for her, and watching a woman with no clothes on prancing on the stage is no issue for her. Okay, but say this, so she's in the locker room with some woman, not big deal. Right, she's been there before. He can't go. I didn't want to ask if he's going. I just heard about a her, but I know the her is attached to a him, so I just wanted, I didn't want to know whether. I just listened and I didn't say a thing. Okay, so that's sick. That's really sick, because that's an expression of a society that we have nothing to do with, right? Just nothing to do with. Okay. Now, I have no idea whatsoever whether or not the person is really a talented person. I have no idea, honestly. I have no idea. I've never heard one note of the music. Nothing. Okay. Because we would ask me about the Beatles, I'll tell you, well, they were definitely very talented, and maybe, okay, fine. All right? I mean, the chitzonius of this looks like it's just so vacuous and empty that I don't know. I'm not sure. I did see one line, and there's a right wing, I don't know exactly what's it called? Satire? I guess it's called satire. There's some people, I don't know who they are, but they do a blog once a week where they put out the weekend pictures, and they just make fun of what's going on in the world, and it's just hilarious. You might see Shabbos in the washroom. That's what I look at that. It's so funny. But they're beating up on the left, which is also fun to see someone do. What can I tell you? So this star evidently is a Democrat. So she evidently likes Joe Biden. So one of the things was, well, I don't know whether I'd want to be liked by her because all of her songs are about men that left, or people, or men that she left, or whatever, something. Right? They're all. I mean, what do these people sing about? Lost love, right? I mean, they're always singing about failed love. Like that's what they sing about, failed love. Right? Okay. So one of the things was that I wouldn't want you don't want to be supported by this person because it's all going to be negative. Just looking to see who's writing the message on the screen. I didn't know who it was. Right? So there's just a level of shtus that's beyond belief, right? So you might be very intimidated by it. You have to be intimidated by it. Right? One thing we know about our Rebbe is the Rebbe says the truth to whomever he's talking to in whatever situation. He was never embarrassed to tell them the truth. Right? Now that doesn't mean he told them the truth necessarily in a he didn't. The Rebbe doesn't tell truth in a confrontational way, but he would say the truth. He's never embarrassed by who he was talking to, whether they could deal with it, they couldn't deal with it. Certainly, if they're Jewish, they can deal with it because they have the Nefesh Elokis. Okay, the non-Jews, the Rebbe used to talk to, etc. She talked to them about what's true. Shezeu kosher and tenuah is Mesiras Nefesh, and this in our days is connected to a tenuah of Mesiras Nefesh. Utenuah of Mesiras Nefesh dal yizbarish min maligim. This idea of not being embarrassed by the scorners. Nimsheches etzloi binyonim haprotim deterred mitzvahs. It's drawn down to this person this is the way it should be expressed, right? And this is in line with what was going on in Purim. Be drawn down a person binyonim haprotim in the particular details, the Torah mitzvahs, v'mesher kol hayir, throughout all the day. That there'll never be a time when a person will do a mitzvah slightly less well because they're embarrassed to do the mitzvah the proper way for whatever reason, whether they're in public or whatever it happens to be. Right? And that the fact that this idea, third time the Rebbe said it, this is the beginning of Shulchan Aruch. Right? This is the first Ramah in Shulchan Aruch talks about this, about not being embarrassed and doing mitzvahs with a certain breitkeit, with a certain pride. That's the very beginning of Shulchan Aruch. Va'ad she'tenuah b'mesiras nefesh mevir segam lidei ha'sofa b'limud Torah, to such an extent that this movement of mesiras nefesh will bring the person to an increase in learning Torah, b'hidur kiyum mitzvahs, and in a more beautiful expression of the performance of mitzvahs. Va'ad she'sofahi, until this addition, he lamaylam medida, is beyond measure. Mikevin shiba mitzad mesiras nefesh, it's coming from mesiras nefesh. Where's it coming from? Where's this mesiras nefesh? Al yidbayish mipnei maligim today. Where's it coming from? Azoiv v'nitandrish. This is the way it is, and there is no other way. And it happens to be beseder. It happens to be that the societal winds are such that organized religion is considered something something unsophisticated, etc., etc., etc. Okay, say that happens to be where the winds are blowing, right? And it's not just lahavdil. It's not just affecting Yidden, right? It affects anybody with any religious desire, right? Will be ridiculed. Okay, seder. Right. So what does that mean? That means that, so the Rebbe says, that means that there's a particular Aveda that's shaykh to our generation. What's that Aveda? To not be moved by all of this noise and to be completely and totally connected to the Eibishter and proud of one's Yiddishkeit, regardless of the fact that it might be that some people find it, they'll ridicule it and find it something less than uplifting. Right, and there's some of those people, or many of those people, who knows they might even be Jews. Right? I remember having a conversation with a very famous Jew. I don't want to say his name, but he was a very famous Jew, famous television personality in America. And somehow we got close because I was on one of his shows, so we ended up becoming close. And he came over to our house with his non-Jewish wife.
The reporter.
What?
The reporter. The journalist.
Yeah, the journalist. He was a journalist. Yeah. So anyway, it doesn't matter. He, we were very close, and I genuinely liked him. He was a very likable person, and I think he genuinely liked me, and we got along, and we used to schmooze. When I go to New York, I used to call him up, and how you doing? What's up? So he once said something that just blew me away. And it wasn't that he was stupid, right? He wasn't a stupid person. He said, I won't use his exact language because I don't want to shock the 3 million Bangladeshis out there. But, and I have to say something positive about myself, and I apologize for that. He said, you're an intelligent, thoughtful, interesting person. And I find it astounding that you believe in all this.
Wow.
Right? That was his line. Like the idea that someone could believe in anything like what he just had no place in his head to put this nowhere. And it wasn't like, something personal against me. We got along very, very well. He just couldn't. His education was such that he had been educated out of any thought whatsoever of any transcendent reality. And he bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Which is really chaval, because he you could say exactly the same thing back to him. You're a very intelligent, thoughtful, and interesting person. I'm just amazed that you don't believe in anything. It's just astounding that you're so stuck in this box of silliness, right? It was so interesting. Like I was shocked when he said it to me. I just burst out laughing. He didn't say it in an antagonistic way at all, right? It's amazing. Okay. So now, of course, you would never say that to anybody who doesn't have your worldview, right? But he would have no problem saying that to me, right? Because we're the weirdos and he's the normal one, right? If I said that to him, I cannot believe that you live in such unbelievable spiritual darkness and that your life is just klipa and schmutz. He would be very offended and probably would never talk to me again. Right? And I don't know whether I would blame him, right? But him saying it to us, no problem. Why? Those are the winds of the world. I remember having a conversation with the father, I think we probably talked about this, with the father of a student who was just ranking out Yiddishkeit. Now, of course, he had spent the first 15 years of his life ranking out Yiddishkeit and and how could his daughter get into this and Oh, I'm getting all sorts of interesting things here about that singer and godlessness and that. He was ranking out Yiddishkeit and going on and on and on. We were standing on a balcony as the waves of Malibu were breaking underneath the balcony. It was a pretty nice place. That was his rented house. He didn't own it. He was renting that house. So I remember, I heard this diatribe, and I just, his name was Jerry. I said, Jerry, it's really interesting how you are so incredibly close-minded about my lifestyle, whereas I'm much more open-minded about yours. I thought you're the open-minded one, and I'm the closed-minded one. But I'm much more open-minded about your lifestyle than you are about mine. Now, he was a good guy, and he said, thought about it, and he said, you know what, you're right. I apologize, I'm wrong. And he completely changed the way he related to his daughter's Yiddishkeit after that also. Like he realized, hold on, like, why am I being the closed-minded one? Because he really did think that being open-minded was positive, and that was one of his issues with Yiddishkeit. Well, who's open-minded and who's closed-minded? Who's accepting? I'm accepting of you. I'm not accepting your lifestyle, but I'm very accepting of you. But you're not accepting of me because you don't accept my lifestyle. What's wrong with you? I understand. I'm allowed to choose my own lifestyle. There's no problem. Right? And it happens to be true. Okay, Beseder, I can't prove that in the laboratory, so we're not going to go there. But right, that's what the Rebbe is saying here. Why is it? I understand. Why in the world, especially since it's true, but okay, Beseder, that aside, why in the world should I be embarrassed by having certain convictions? Why am I not allowed to believe in something? Of course I am. Right? And according to you, the people who are loeg, you're flying the flag of open-mindedness. So open up. הוא אסכולה של כל דלת חוקי שלנו, ועד שתנות המצווה מביא את זה גם להיסוף ולימוד התורה בהידוקים. המצווה עד שהיסוף והיא למעלה מדידה מכיוון שהיא באה מצד מסירות נפש. The Rebbe says, ממש מסירות נפש. ועד שניכר בלימוד התורה וקים המצווה שלו, a person who's not going to be affected by the winds of silliness that blow out there, and isn't going to be embarrassed to stand up for what they believe, that the Rebbe says is going to help them in their learning Torah and in the performance of mitzvahs, shem nasim b'mesiras nefesh, because they're done with a more powerful connection to the Eibishter. Unbelievable. V'alachas kama v'kama b'dechila rechimu. All the more so with love and with fear and love. Shebeliber Torah who's zeichres neisin Torah. That through his learning Torah, he remembers the neisin Torah. You're sitting learning a page of Gemara every now and then. Give a thought to the fact that you're learning the Torah of the Eibishter, as opposed to, it's very easy in Torah, and this is the whole reason the Rebbe wrote Kuntres Eitz Chaim. When the Rebbe, we saw the footnote, the Rebbe quoted the Rebbe Rashab writing Kuntres Veda. Kuntres Eitz Chaim was all about how to make sure that our learning of Nigla isn't mitzad our own yeshus, isn't mitzad my own intellectual aggrandizement, which it can be. Why? Because it's a das tevorah. So Chazal call it a sam, it's a potion, but it can be sam achayim or sam amavas. Chazal say learning Torah can be sam amavas. How can it be sam amavas? It can push me further away from God. How? Because it makes me feel that I'm greater. If I learn Torah and it makes me feel that I'm something better than I was before I learned Torah, so now it's pushed me away from the Eibishter as opposed to closer. Now, better, what does better mean? Meaning better than other people because I know something, not better to the extent that I appreciate the fact that the Eibishter created me and therefore I'm of importance and of use and of worth. That's a different idea. Mm-hmm. But I'm better than someone else because I understand this sugya and they don't. Believe the Torah is nice in the Torah. Kima mitzvah shlei chadur is penetrated ima hergish shel mitzava mitzvahs with a feeling of the one who commanded the mitzvahs. I'm just going to turn the page and we'll stop. Asher kitshanu mitzvahs v'tzivanu. So we say when we do a mitzvah that he has sanctified us with his mitzvahs and he commanded us. Who's he? The Eibishter. As is explained at great length in the Drushim of the Mitla Rebbe, B'kol mitzvahs tzricha liyos hakavana klolis. Every mitzvah a person has to do with the basic intention Shehi shava b'chol mitzvahs, which is equal in every mitzvah. Yes, each mitzvah has its own particular hamshacha, but there's also a basic, general idea that shaykh to every single mitzvah. Shemekayim esivi shemalka shaleilam, that he's performing the mitzvah of, he's fulfilling the command of the King of the world. That's a mitzvah. And to do every mitzvah with that in mind. Okay, we'll stop there and we'll finish the Mayanot tomorrow.